Ooh, there it is. Here we are. Boy, I just suddenly here like 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, the wind just started like roaring outside. I just hear the wind blowing and everything is blowing like a storm is about to come through. So hopefully, things stay pretty calm for the next 20 or 30 minutes or so we can get through this. But it got suddenly like super windy outside. I didn't know what was happening. Walked in the other room and like I hear everything like shaking. So obviously like a weather change is obviously coming through. But nevertheless, the show will go on. So tonight again we have a bunch of questions, a little bit of all different types of stuff in here. So we're going to talk a little bit about what to bring along and some other questions that that I have here for tonight. So I'm going to start to go through these questions a little bit at a time. And again, my name is Michael, Boudoir Photographer out of New Jersey. I've been a professional photographer 15 years or longer. And one of the things about coming in and one of the reasons started doing the show and what I've been involved in a long time is making sure women make smart decisions when choosing their photographer, because it's not super simple. And we want everyone to have a great time, have fun when they go in to do their session. So the more information we can give people to make that smart decision, the better. So that brings us here tonight. And the idea is answering questions people may have. These are some questions I put together for tonight's show. You can always add your questions into the comment section below and sort of read through those and put them in a future show. So that's how you can get involved. So thanks everybody for watching, either now while it's live or those people who jump in and watch it afterwards on YouTube. Appreciate it. Okay, so going to get started here this evening. First question, kind of, I guess, a fun question here, and that is, how common is it for clients to incorporate superhero themes into their boudoir shoots? I'm curious about the possibility of blending empowerment with a bit of comic book flair. So I have shot or photographed a few superhero outfits during my time. So I wouldn't say it is a super common thing. However, I have had women come in who, and I don't think it was really the women who were into superheroes. Usually it's their husband or their boyfriend. And they're the big fan. I do remember seeing, I don't even know, I don't know all of the superheroes, but I think one woman I had that comes to mind came in with a big shield. I think it was Captain America. So she wanted to put that shield into her photos. And I do remember there were quite a few women who came in that had some Star Wars gear as part of their shoot. So I do remember that as well. Trying to remember what else I may have had some people come in and do. Good question. Those are the couple that I remember, that I recall sort of off the top of my head, but I wouldn't say it's a super common thing. Oh, I know. I had Robin. One woman came in from a head to toe, like Batman and Robin. I remember one woman dressed up as Robin. Probably more will come into my mind. I remember she had to get this whole outfit on. That was like a while ago. It's not super common to bring in a whole superhero outfit, or in case one woman just had it was a big metal shield and she wanted to use it to kind of like cover herself. It's a cute idea, and I personally don't have any issue. It's part of the fun of doing what we do. It's not super common, but it's one of those things. If you bringing something like that in, I would say, let the photographer know that you're bringing something like that along, and so they can just understand this is going to be part of the session, because probably going to be doing little bit of a different photograph in a robin outfit than you would just in, or a costume than regular lingerie photo. So just to give them a heads up, if that's what you plan on doing, but it's all about fun. So bring in your superhero outfit and use that in your session. No problem with that whatsoever. So another question that came in was, what's the usual process for booking a session in terms of payment? Are upfront payments the norm, or do photographers offer payment plans? It's all about budgeting for me. And that's a question. Of course, I can't speak for everybody because every photographer operates differently. But by and large, I think most photographers do spread out payments, because typically you're talking hundreds, $1,000, $1,500, and that's broken up into several payments. So I would say, again, reach out to that person and ask them. It may not be something that is on their website or so forth. It could be something that you may have to reach out to them and just ask them specifically when you book. They may require 30% upfront, 40% up front, and then spread out payments on a session day, or a certain amount may do after your session, but before you get any material or any products delivered to you. So that's a good question. It's not something that's very obvious. Excuse me while I sip this for my perpetually allergy bothered throat. And that helps things just work out for your budget when you could pay things little by little like that. So important question. So thanks for sending that in. And moving quickly here. So it'll be a quick show. So another one, long. I'm doing some budgeting and wondering what's a good amount to spend on a boudoir session. I want to make sure I'm investing in quality without going over the top. Any advice on what's reasonable? So super simple question to ask, very difficult question to answer. Again, and not to sound too, but it's like asking, what should I pay for a dinner when I go out to eat, and coming in to do a photography session is not something you do all the time. I would equate it to more going out to a fancy dinner for like an anniversary or something like that, something you're not doing all the time, as opposed to going to Taco Bell to pick up a chalupa, So if you think in terms of an anniversary and going out, you're getting your makeup done and hair done and wearing something nice, and it's kind of a special occasion, and you're spending more than you normally would to go out and get something else. So that being said, as we've talked about frequently on this show, photographers are all different. There are all different types of, just like there are all different types of restaurants. That's the analogy I use all the time. And probably generally, depending on where you are on the country, East Coast, West Coast, I don't know, you're probably median 700-ish to, I don't know, $1,000 is a good amount. You can certainly spend way more than that. But see, so much of this too really comes down. And the other thing is, like I always say, is if you're calling a builder to ask somebody how much a new home costs and saying, I just want the price. No, I just want the price. It really depends on the type of house you're building. How many bedrooms? Is it a single story or a double? There's so many factors involved in determining the price of a home. Similarly, a lot of that has to do with, or a lot of things like that are similar when in a photo session. And what I mean by that is, some photography, it could be videos involved, and there's a world of differences in photo products, from very simple and basic to very fancy and expensive. Some photographers may include fancy ones, others may include basic ones. So there's a lot of variability in there. So this is a very, very difficult question to answer. And as I noted, it probably really depends on where you are located in the country as well. In the Northeast, where I am, everything is super ridiculously expensive, just everything. It's probably very similar out west in California, probably the two most expensive places to live. So things are generally going to cost a lot more here than for what you're getting than probably other parts of the country. So your location, a lot to do with that, but we'll bet on spending 750,000 to $1,000 or so, unless you get something really budgety. And again, I would be careful of going way too far the other way. Be wary of things that are super inexpensive, just because, like, it's like going to the dollar menu. What are you going to wind up getting there? That's actually food. Okay, so next question. Next was, I was asked to sign a model release form that could potentially allow my photos to be used on the photographer's website. Is this standard request, or should I be cautious about agreeing to this? So something like this is really involves a lot of care. I don't know why, or I would be a little wary, especially in women's photography, if this was part of just a very standard photographer's contract. Now, I also have a business in the summer where we shoot families on the beach, and I do have a model release like that as part of the family beach sessions. You can use pictures, that's a super different thing. But with women's photography, it is just more of a private thing. And it seems to me I will be a little wary of that, giving that power to somebody to use those photos, in that regards. Now, so I would say no, that probably shouldn't be part of a photo agreement or session contract upfront blanket for every person. Even if the person says, "Oh, I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to use them. It's just part of a I just don't, man or woman or whoever it is." So I would be a little wary of that. Now, after sessions, I know that photographers, unless this is something agreed upon that you're coming in to do a photo session that's completely just for sample purposes, or if there's an arrangement where that the photos are going to be used for sample purposes and for a whole entire session. That's a different kind of a situation there. But for, you just going in just for an anniversary or something like that, no, that's very weird, or very unusual, I should say. And as far as after a photo session, there may be situations where people agree to let a photographer use a certain photo or two or a few photos. And at that point, you may sign a photo release for those few photos, which you give like approval to, and that they're going to be used. So that's what I have to say about that. So just be careful, probably not normal. And I would be asking more questions on why that's unless this photographer is using some kind of a very standard off-the-shelf contract and they're using that same thing for all of their work and it just has to be in there. And they may say, oh, you can always ask them to take that out. So that way you don't find your photos being put up somewhere and then they say, oh, you signed. Because that's not really the spirit of what you want with a photographer. Okay, so into next question on my list here. And one more again, is it weird that I'm considering driving a few hours just to work with a photographer whose style I absolutely love? I want the vibe to be just right, and their portfolio speaks to me. Thoughts on this? Well, it is not weird driving to go to a photographer that you feel you've connected with or you enjoy their work. Certainly happens in my case all the time, to the point where it's even as shocking as it is to me this day. People fly to come to do sessions. Doesn't happen all the time, but it certainly has. And I know I've had women who have showed up looking very, very tired. And then I remember, would say, coming from way out by, Pittsburgh, and we've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning and drove. So, yeah, I mean, one consideration if you are driving, like I would say, is go the day before and stay at a hotel so you're not exhausted, because I've had that happen, getting up at super early and driving many hours, and because tired is the one thing you cannot Photoshop off of somebody's face, so it is not weird. You just have to consider that as overall cost of that session, obviously. And travel, no issue. It happens. If you can't find somebody that is near you, then that's absolutely understandable. And just make arrangements if you have to shop closer. And this, again, and depending on where you are in the country, you may have many options where you are, you may not. So you may be forced to travel to go work with somebody that you like. So it is 1000% not weird, very normal. And just get a good night's rest before your session, and don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start driving to wherever you're going. Just go the previous night and sleep in a hotel or something, so you're closer. And let's see, you got the next question up on board here. And is it a good idea to have a mix of playful and serious shots in a boudoir session? How do you capture those genuine moments of joy? So yeah, this is the very sort of a straightforward and simple thing. And I know what this person means. And what they mean is everything have to be very serious, or some women think everything has to be very sexy and making these faces, but no. Actually, some of the cutest photos are just people smiling, having a good time, and stuff like that. And what I have, just the key is to be yourself. If you're happy and smiling and looking cute, that's, and I always joke with some women, if I'm always telling you to smile, that means when you're not smiling, you have that RBF, that resting bitch face, and no one wants to look like that in all their pictures. So it's good to have a mix. Some people genuinely are very cute when they're smiling and the pictures are cute, so why wouldn't you be smiling? You don't have to look deadly serious, or I can't even do that face, like that Instagram influencer face where I can't even do that face where people are trying to look like so serious or so sexy in the shoot. If that's not you, then don't try to do that in your photos. It just does not look great in the final the results there. And how do you capture moments of genuine joy? Well, that's something that you just aren't faking. It's just actually people having a fun time, and whether it's getting your client to laugh and taking the photo at that moment. But again, there's no way to fake that. It is just being relaxed, having a good time, enjoying what you're doing, and then that sort of comes through in the smile and then the attitude of the picture. So that is just genuine happiness, and that's something you can't add to somebody's face afterwards or so forth. It's just when you're working with the photographer, they're really as much a host and guiding you through this process and making you at ease and making sure you have a good time during your session. And it just sort of happens if you're with the right person. So if you look on the photographer you're considering website and you see a lot of smiling faces, they may be able to put you at ease, and again, ask them and chat with something. So there we are with that one. And let's see here. There's another very common question. This is one I've been answering like 800 times or more in the last, God knows how many years, 10 or 15 years. I'm kind of worried about overpacking for my session. How much is too much stuff to bring along? I want options, but I also don't want to go overboard. So usually in the course of your session, and I don't operate with time limits. Some photographers work with time limits, but the reality is you're just going to only have so many different outfit changes. It's just 3 of them, 4 of them. It's just how it goes over the course. So people want alternatives. There is no need to bring 47 different things. However, you know, I have certainly, again, had clients, and you see them with those wheel handle suitcases, pulling multiple suitcases in. They got stuff all over the place. I wasn't sure what I needed to leave behind, and they have suitcases. If you want to haul that stuff in, that's your prerogative. You know, you're going to use about 4 of these things. So I think that the bottom line is how much stuff you want to haul around is the answer there. You know, and if you're just not sure and you feel you need to bring all that stuff just in case, and that gives you peace of mind, then bring all that stuff. But I've also had women who have come in literally with like a little paper bag with a couple of things, and they were good to go. You know, and some people only want to do a few outfits. They don't have a lot of wardrobe changes, but some people want to do dresses or so forth, and they just want to be prepared in case they need something and to do it. So don't need like tons of things, but you know, and if you pick out your 3 or 4 favorite things, you know, that's probably what you can get by with, and a few extras. And I know what people mean too. How many different pairs of shoes do I need to bring, or stockings, or jewelry? Ooh, something keeps going to my eye. You know, and those pack pretty small, but 3, 4, 5 outfits is really essentially what you need there. And that's really kind of about, ooh, this question had a part 2. I forgot to put this on. I feel I've already gone overboard. Any guidelines on finding the sweet spot? So I kind of covered that, but probably 4 outfits, you know, and I would always have people bring maybe a dress, just do some regular pictures or something, like a pair of jeans. If you want something a little bit different in there, you know, but this is the funny thing. There's a lot of people that have collections of lingerie that really don't have opportunity to wear this stuff on the normal course of their day. So this is your chance. So I get it. People want to bring in stuff that they love. And I've had women bring in these elaborate corsets that take, you know, 40 minutes to put on because they got all those little clasps, and it's just, but hey, that's part of the fun, and that's part of the experience. So if you're having fun and it's something that you think would be interesting to use in pictures, just sort of bring it along. And worst comes to worst, like I said, you're not going to get to all of it. So do make a list of 4 or 5 things that are the must-use items. And then what also I've had is that people buy stuff, maybe don't try it on, and then during their session, it's like the first time they're trying something on, and then it doesn't quite fit the way that you thought, or for whatever reason, it doesn't look the way you thought it would look. So it never hurts to have a backup. I've had women don't please just have come in with really that cheap Amazon lingerie where it's like $7 for a bodysuit, and there's no elasticity to it, and things are out of the place, and I'm like, yeah, you know. So if something doesn't fit or whatever, you could always have a alternative. Or I've also had people come in who, you know, wanted to do some black and white photos, and you know, just make sure you have some black lingerie or white lingerie. I've had people come in with like red or green only colored stuff, and that doesn't translate well to black and white. So if you want black and white photos, black bra set is universal, can be used like anywhere. So I would say one thing you could bring, only one outfit, bring a black bra set. You could use that for anything. So you're not bringing too much. It's a good workout. Now the thing too is a lot of times women have trouble getting these things out of their homes without fear of being discovered. So I've had women have to like sneak things out one at a time, one shoe at a time, so nobody noticed what you were doing. But that's another whole, my life is a whole secret. Everything is secret about what we do. So it's risky coming in, keeping it a secret. Okay. Next question is kind of related. Just wondering, Do all the shots have to be in lingerie, or can I mix it up with other outfits? I've got a couple looks in mind that aren't exactly lingerie, but continued again, too long for the titles, but still feel super empowering and sexy. Is that cool? So essential question here is, do you have to do only lingerie when you go in to do a boudoir session? And the shorter answer is no. It's just really what makes you feel good, what you like, what you want to wear. There are no hard and fast rules in that. And as I noted in my sessions, which I would always have people say, bring in dresses. And they were like, why? And it was always on my, you must bring a dress, and you know, bring jeans. And people were like, why? I don't want to wear. And the point of that was, you know, I would always do photos with people in dresses first, just to get them used to the whole process. Because, you know, people coming in and right away with no clothes on. But if you do some regular pictures first, it gets people used to how you're working, gets them a little used to, you know, what's going on in the session, and it makes it a little easier. And not only that, you know, people often don't even have nice photos of themselves. So what ended up happening is these photos in dresses wound up getting a heck of a lot more mileage than any of the other photos we took, because people could use them online and share them or get prints of them. And then time and time again after, it was like, oh, I'm so glad you said to bring that. I didn't think I would want pictures of me in dress or in jeans. Another big thing is like jeans and a tank top or stuff like that. Absolutely. I've had women come in, you know, just with like pajamas or stuff like that. That is perfectly okay. Or another big thing that is not lingerie in winters are the sweaters, like big cable knitty sweaters or big kind of like button-down sweaters that we use in the sessions, which are really great. And it's not lingerie related. So 1000%, you can always bring something in that is not lingerie to your session. And it is 1000% great to use change. It doesn't have to be tiny little, you know, whatever. Another thing is robes or cover-ups, sheer robes or just robes or a button-down shirt that could be used in a session too. So that's really great stuff that people use all the time. And another common type of question here that, you know, comes in, okay, so my husband is really into my boobs. And I was thinking, would it be weird to ask the photographer to take some photos focusing just on them? Continued again. I want to surprise him, but I'm not sure if it's a typical request. It is a very typical request. And don't want to get canceled here on Instagram. My account is already canceled enough for showing women, because now women's bodies are objectable on Instagram. So I don't want to say too much stuff. But like photos of specific body parts, boobs, booties, and stuff like that, it's very, very common. And then women would come in, and then we would absolutely do some very specific photos that are more focused and on that specific body part. It would not be weird to ask your photographer to do that. And my husband is a butt guy or whatever. 1000% normal, happens all the time. And that way, usually it's not going to be your whole album. That would be a little bizarre. But, you know, there are a few accent photos that typically go in an album here or there. And go ahead and do that without a doubt. Tell your photographer that's what you like. And I would even go so far, if you had a sample of something you saw online that you wanted to replicate, email them or text them the picture and say, ooh, I love this style of photo. I want to do something like this in my own session, because sometimes it's easier to show a sample than it is to explain. So if you're on Pinterest or something and have some sample boudoir photos, send them that so they have an idea of the type of photo you like. And then absolutely, that is something very common to do, is body part photos, mostly booty, boobs, sometimes legs, you know, but those are things that are very normal, standard requests. Your boudoir photographer wouldn't find that as strange or unusual kind of whatsoever. And this next question, again, is a little interesting. Just pay attention to this This is, again, is a two-parter. Had a lot of two-part questions, so I had to add this in here. And it is, I received a request to choose outfits that are more revealing. And this is really was a little back and forth. And this is coming from the person she was booking a session with. I received a request to choose outfits that are more revealing than I'm comfortable with, citing artistic reasons. Is it normal for photographers to dictate wardrobe to this extent, or should my comfort level be the priority? Yeah, and I don't know, and again, I will cover some possible scenarios here, but it is not very usual, or I would say at all, for a photographer to be telling somebody what they should be wearing during the course of a session. You know, as we noted earlier ago, this is really about you and what you're comfortable wearing. It's not for the photographer. It is for you. Session's about the client and what they want to do. So that being said, you know, when someone has come in and worked with me and a woman wanted to do a specific pose or had a specific outfit or something like that, I have certainly given somebody feedback on outfits and saying, you know, for this particular thing, this may be better, and here's why. But I couldn't envision any scenario where I would be reviewing somebody's outfits and telling people you should only be bringing X, Y, and Z, unless there's some specific theme that, or I can't even imagine the situation. But no, this would be a little unusual. I'd be interested to know whether they, you know, how this came about. Now, some photographers and myself included, when someone books with me, you know, there's a series of emails that go out, and one of them may be like a get ready guide or a what to wear guide. And over the years, I've compiled, now it's like, gosh, I don't know, 8 pages, 9 pages. It's pretty long of information about, because people sometimes don't know what they should bring, and it may list, you know, some items and what's fun to wear or what's you could bring and stuff like that. So I know the photographers have like a prep guide or what to bring along guide, but it's just suggestions, and it would not be a situation where someone would be telling you only bring X, Y, or Z. So that to me would be a little bit strange coming from a photographer. Don't know any further details than what was in that question, but the bottom line is it's your shoot. It's all about your comfort. I don't know if I'd be, you know, asking that person, why would you say I should be bringing things that are more revealing or artistic reasons? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'd be careful with that. And, you know, I don't know whether you've chatted with them about wardrobe. Now, I've had women contact me uncertain about outfits and send me like photos of clothes that they were going to bring in, and people say, should I bring this or what with this? And again, it's up to the person. Photographer shouldn't be making that decision. Now, I do know that people generally struggle and are not certain if a certain outfit may look good for a boudoir shoot. As we noted earlier, you know, just bring stuff along, because if you don't like the way that it looks, then you could always do a quick change. But I don't think any photographer should be telling you what to wear or telling you that you need to be more scantily clothed for artistic reasons. Something sounds a little fishy there. So we've gone through and answered about 6 or 7 questions today. I appreciate everybody who was watching on Instagram and on YouTube here tonight, and hopefully this is helpful again, because as I always note, it is tricky going out and finding a photographer, and I'm going to repeat myself a million times. It's like people think that all photographers are the same, and what I always say, are all restaurants the same? Have you ever seen Kitchen Nightmares? You know, and I, after doing this for all these years, have heard the unfortunate stories of women who have gone into photo sessions with either very new photographers who had no clue what they were doing and just wound up in situations that didn't work out how they thought were going to work out. People think that just because somebody calls themselves a professional photographer, they know what they're doing. This is not the case. And when always searching for your boudoir photographer, you have to ask lots of questions, read reviews online, and very important, either face-to-face chat if you're close, go on a video chat with them or a phone, talk to the person, find out how long they've been doing what they're doing, go into their galleries, look for a variety of images in there with different people, and make sure they are experienced and you know what you're getting yourself into. Never presume that just because someone calls himself a professional photographer, they actually know what they're doing or have experience. And this is probably the number one situation I think that a lot of women find themselves into. And it's not, I don't mean to imply that it's a dangerous situation. What I mean to say is that in what I do or in photography, there are lots of people who wake up one day and decide for whatever reason, I'm going to change the world and I'm going to be a women's photographer. And like 2 weeks ago, you know, they were an MLM babe or had a home cupcake business babe, and then that wasn't working out for them and decided to switch, become a photographer, and they just buy a camera and they think that alone makes themselves like a pro. And what I would always say to the people who chat with me about this is that, you know, if I went out and bought a set of golf clubs knowing nothing about golf, I walked into a golf pro store and said, I want the same clubs as Tiger Woods used, does that mean I'm a professional golfer? No. If I don't know how to cook and buy a really expensive oven, does that mean I'm a chef? No. How long would it take me to learn how to play the guitar really, really well? If I practice all the time, years, a couple years? Are people going to be throwing money at me to put shows on if I don't know what I'm doing? No. But this is exactly what happens in photography all the time. And, you know, I've heard the stories of friends. She just started to be a photographer, and women don't know, and people don't know. They look at somebody that has a website and they think, oh, they know what they're doing, because there's this very low barrier to entry. And again, I've heard the stories over and over again where people looking through my sample books or stuff, and I thought my photos were going to look like that, or I thought it was going to be, and this woman didn't know what she was doing, or this man didn't know what they were doing. And it just, people wind up spending a lot of money, and they just, what they get out of the experience is what they hope, and they walk away with a bad taste in their mouth. So always be vigilant, do your homework, ask a lot of questions, and so that way you have a great wedding gift or Christmas gift or anniversary gift. It's a little bit more work than you think finding a good photographer. It really takes a little bit of homework. So that way you find someone who's competent and knows what they're doing, and you'll be in good hands. And I'm going to wrap this up here tonight. And as usual, if you have any questions, please leave them down on YouTube, because Instagram doesn't save any of this. Everything vanishes. So don't leave your questions on the Instagram feed. You can either leave them on below the YouTube video or contact me, email me your questions, and we get to them on future episodes. So this has been fun. Have a good response with the show. So we'll keep doing them 30 minutes or so every week. And I want to thank everybody for stopping and tuning in this week. And I will talk to you later. Thanks. Good night, everybody.